is regarding questions that were going on the fans advisory board panel last night with Daniel Levy. The question is, did the fans influence Daniel Levy? So he was talking in the panel about, the appointments of Conte, Mourinho, Nuno. He was very much influenced by the fans and the players about getting in a win now manager. Do we think that's kind of true? Do you think he actually was influenced by the fans? Sonny, we'll start with you on this one. What's your opinion? What's your take on it?
I did a big deep dive on my channel this morning about all things. So it was very interesting, most of those quotes that were coming out from the fan forum. And with Levy, you have to take everything, I'd say, with a massive pinch of salt, because we've been here before. How many times has he said all these quotes and things about the club in the previous years and hasn't really lived up to it? He's obviously picked a perfect time to do this fan forum as well, when the positive energy at the club is at its all-time high since the arrival of Ange Postecoglou. He wouldn't have done one with Conte because it would have ended up being like the Southampton press conference, really like, some home truths. But all in all, there was some interesting stuff. Obviously, the Kane stuff was very, very intriguing. But obviously, having these sly digs at Conte and Mourinho, of course it's going to appease us fans, because I'd say a majority of us have not really got many good things to say about those appointments now. It is very hindsight, but I respect him owning up to it. But then what else was he meant to do? This is the same guy who literally sat Mourinho in the week leading up to a Carabao Cup final. There's nowhere really to hide. But as I say, pinch of salt, and it's Levy all over, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Sonny, I'll just on that topic, like when Levy was talking about the managers weren't the right fit for the club, and people like Postecoglou plays the football we want to see, and they're obviously better fits for this football club. And he actually said, didn't he? They're two great managers, Conte and Mourinho, but they're just not good for this club. Do you think maybe he should have acknowledged more his part in why it didn't work? Because did it simply just not work because they're not the right fit, or did surely he had a part to play as to why those managers maybe weren't successful on the pitch?
I think it does take two to tango. You're not, your average football fan knows that a Mourinho and Conte type needs backing, and they need players for now. That squad, don't get me wrong, was still good to do well. Peak Son and Kane. But they needed backing. And Conte, how many times did he say he wanted like the likes of Bastoni, and he ended up with Longley? It just wasn't going to work out. And I just think it was a bit of like naivety. It was almost like Levy was like, I paid you £15 million a year. I expect you to work wonders. But it is a really tricky situation when you think about it, because, Tottenham are, you have to admit, we are below the rest of the Premier League, like big six, when it comes to, everything, spending and achievements. So you've sort of told these guys, like, here you go, sort of work with what you've got. But at the same time, you have to back managers. You have to do that. But I think we are now in a better place under Postecoglou, and we've got the football back that we want. And I mean, at the time, I thought those appointments were good, and I thought they were worth a shot. But we can all admit they just didn't work out, obviously.
Every time you guys say Conte and Mourinho, I just want to say, and even Christian Gross, but Christian Gross ain't part of this one. But James, what are you feeling about this one? Do you feel like those appointments were like heavily influenced by the fans and maybe even some players?
I think a little similar to Sonny, really. I think it's on everybody, really. I think they're not the right appointments for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for the way we want to play. But we did want to win, and maybe there was a little bit of truth to that, but they wasn't backed to the way they should have been backed. But also the personality that Postecoglou brings compared to these other managers is insanely different. And there's not a great deal of change to the squads. And Mourinho and Conte had prime Kane and Son, like Sonny was saying, and should have got more out of them. So I think it's on the manager and that as well. So, yeah, I think it's a mixture of everything. I think either side of these managers, and Nuno, we had Pochettino and now Postecoglou, I think where we are striking a chord with all the fans and bringing everyone together. So there's an element of truth to it. But, yeah, I still go along with what Sonny's saying as well.
Sim, what's your take?
I think that I think that the fans have to acknowledge that the noise surrounding the trophy drought definitely must have influenced Levy when it came to who he was appointing in terms of he kind of, when we sacked Pochettino and we made that decision, which I disagreed with at the time, I didn't want Pochettino sacked. But once he was sacked, I was in favor of bringing in someone like Mourinho because because we were so successful under Pochettino, yet we didn't win a trophy. And that was the only thing kind of missing from that project. So the trophy seemed to be the final piece of the puzzle. But I think we maybe got too ahead of ourselves in terms, as a fan base, in terms of the trophy just means everything. We should forego everything just to win a trophy, and a lot of and me included. I think I was basically blinded by the fact that we had these trophy laden managers come to the club, and I don't care what kind of football I was going to be watching. I don't care what was going to happen, as long as they can bring me a trophy, even if they're here for 2 years and they burn everything down. As long as they leave, as long as they've left with a trophy in the cabinet, I wouldn't care. But at the end of the day, it just we lost what it was to be a Tottenham fan. Like we lost kind of the enjoyment of going week in, week out and watching football, and we lost like the atmospheres and the grounds and all these different things. And I think that the noise surrounding that trophy drought, even from rival fans and from our own fans, probably did get into Levy's head a bit. But what I would say is, because I think Levy had it right with the whole Pochettino project, and I think he was onto a good thing. And maybe he got too ahead of himself as to where the club was at when it comes to being ready to really compete for top trophies and being title challenges. Because maybe he thought if the problem was just Pochettino had lost his mojo a bit, and we brought in a manager like Mourinho, he could get the squad that Pochettino was failing with back to where peak Poch was without as much investment. And I think he calculated that very wrong. I think if you were to go, I think Levy should have acknowledged that if he was to go in that direction of the trophies, of these trophy managers, then you can't, and especially trophy managers who win their trophies like Mourinho and Conte do, which is built on a very solid foundation of a defensive line, keeping clean sheets, not being very hard to beat. Then I think he has to acknowledge that he didn't do enough for the managers to give them the tools to win trophies. And I don't think he acknowledged his part enough. I think Ben's gone. That's all right. I don't think he acknowledged his part in the fan forum enough of the part he played as to why those managers didn't work out. As much as I agree with him that the managers weren't the right fit for this club, and we all knew it was an uncomfortable relationship, really, when they were appointed. I think everyone knew that Mourinho was only really here because his career was kind of going downhill at that point, and he needed it, like there was not many too big jobs he was willing to be taken for. Conte was out of work, and we were pretty much desperate at that time because Nuno was crashing and burning, and we were so just desperate for anyone good that we kind of, I think, gave Conte a lot of false promises as to what we could offer him in terms of like players on the pitch. So I think we knew they were uncomfortable relationships, but if you have taken that decision to make those appointments, which they ended up doing, then you have to go fully in with that project that you've decided to do, and you have to buy into it, and you have to make sure you give those managers tools. Don't give the manager Eric Dyer at the back and ask him to try and win the league. You just don't. Then it's a recipe for disaster. You have to give like if you look at the job that these guys actually did, like Conte was a point of third place when he got sacked. Now, I don't think anyone could look at that squad yesterday and say last season and say that we should have definitely finished top four, and that's where we were when he got sacked. Not to say that he would have finished there. I'm saying that's where he was. That's where we finished when he left his job. We were in the top four, and we ended up finishing 8th. Mourinho was sacked the day before the cup final. So I think those managers were not the right fit, but I just don't think the hierarchy helped the managers as much as they could have when it came to giving them the tools to bring that trophy that we all wanted. So I think he maybe could have acknowledged that in the fan forum, that maybe they could have done more. But I'm happy that he's finally, look, because Levy hardly ever admits when he's wrong. So I'm just happy that he's come out and said, look, we made a mistake. Those weren't the right managers for this club. And we're now going in a direction the fans are more on board with. But
I've not seen it. I've not had time to see it. Is it? What did he say exactly on that? What did he say on the manager? He said like I know he had a dig at Conte. I've seen a bit of that, but I've not seen the actual quote. What did he say?
So the bit about Conte was an answer to a different question. He was asked about why he picked Postecoglou, and he said that Ange, he really liked Ange when he met with him, and he seems like a very normal, down to earth person, like a normal bloke. And he said, what I like about Ange is what he says to me, to my face, he means, and he doesn't go behind. He said he doesn't go behind my back and say different things to other people. And then the host said, "Oh, I can't even imagine who you're talking about." And Levy said, "I don't want to name names, but yeah." So that was a little dig at Conte. I think pretty clear. Maybe Mourinho as well, but I think probably more Conte.
I think with those managers as well, the biggest thing that I take from it is it almost felt like a little aura of they were doing us a favour.
Yeah,
whereas Postecoglou and Tottenham, it's like it's straight away, like everybody's together, and I think that's down to obviously everyone's attitude, but Postecoglou's attitude. So bigger than like the Levy appointment, I think it's that feeling of like someone doing us a favour, which Tottenham fans are never going to accept. You're not doing us a favour by managing the club. Do you know what I mean? So having that there is amazing for me. I think the man's just incredible, and in every press conference I see the way he's handling himself. And how did he handle himself? Like I've been really busy. I've not really dug into it. I know it's available to watch, isn't it, on the Spurs website?
It's on the YouTube. I believe it's on the YouTube channel now. Maybe the highlight. I mean, the full thing is on Spurs Play, which I watched. I think they've got a thing on YouTube now as well. It was brilliant. It was really, really good, really insightful. There's some really good questions asked. I thought Postecoglou handled it brilliantly. He was his charming, humorous self with some really great answers. I think the most interesting stuff definitely came from Levy when it came to, because he's the one who ultimately makes decisions, isn't he? So it's interesting to hear his point of view. And one interesting thing he said was, he was asked about in the answer to the manager question, he was asked basically about winning trophies and stuff, and he said basically, even if, I think we've all agreed that even if it takes us longer to win trophies, or the process will take longer, the fact that we're playing this football, this is what the fans want, and we should be willing to have a bit of patience, even if it takes longer to win. Because of the football we're playing. And do you guys agree with that? Because I'll go funny because some fans, I'm not saying I'm one of them, but some fans would argue we've been patient enough. It's been 20 years. We've been through multiple projects. Should we allow the board to have even more patience just for some nice football? Or do you think, given how much money some clubs have, like Man City, and they're just awash with like state-backed money, we're just not that kind of team, and if we have to do things a different way, even if it takes longer, then so be it, and that's what we should that's the kind of way we should go.
I think not to give them all their praise ahead of Sunday, but you just have to look at Arsenal and see how they've done it. They've been patient. Their project is now in its 5th year. And at the beginning, there was a lot of people calling for, Arteta out. And obviously, he won the FA Cup, which did help his stock quite a lot. But I'd say it's only into obviously last season where it was properly coming together. And that was in the third, 4th year. So that's the thing. We sort of need to go down another project like Pochettino. But what we need to do, and what Levy needs to do, is learn from the mistakes of what happened with Pochettino and that whole thing, because we were riddled with mistakes. We obviously went off the back of, having the best defence in 2 consecutive seasons. We were involved in 2 sort of title pushes, you could say, because of, in stages, Leicester and Chelsea led. We didn't really lead at any stage, but we put the pressure on, as they say. But, we need to sort of learn, not going a whole calendar year without spending. I can't see us ever, I can't see that happening ever again. But I believe, if we can learn from these mistakes, and, we, as you say, Sim, we are never going to spend the money of a Manchester City or a Chelsea. But we've seen, with some of the signings we've made, we can pick up savvy signings. And the whole approach of this now, stats-based signings that we've gone through this summer, maybe that's the way forward, because we have got more of a pool than maybe a Brentford or a Brighton, who go for these sort of, stats-based signings. but we could probably give them more wages and more prospect of consistent European football going forward. So there has got to be change, and Levy has got to realise that that's got to happen, because it's either you change now or the fans will want a new owner come in. And, you know, if we brought in an owner who's maybe, you know, state run or something like that, are Tottenham losing their soul potentially? You know, that's a question maybe for another day. But yeah, it raises more questions than answers, I think, these sort of debates.
Yeah, and like thinking about that, the manager situation, it's very possible. Let's say, you know, obviously this season we're going very well at the moment, but it's not entirely impossible that, you know, maybe things don't continue to go this well. Maybe we finish, you know, 6th or 7th, let's say, this season. That's not beyond the realms of possibility. But in a way, is that easier to stomach when we're playing the kind of football that we are playing right now, rather than because Conte and Mourinho both were pretty consistent in saying, you know, it's a project, they need time and all this kind of stuff. But maybe the reality was Spurs fans just didn't want to put up with that kind of football for a project. Whereas when we're seeing what from Postecoglou now, this is much more something that Spurs fans can stomach when it comes to the long haul.
Yeah, I would say that I went into this season, I don't know about you guys, as almost like a precursor to next season. As long as we're playing good football, and then next season start achieving things, as long as we were playing good football. So, for example, I hope to God this doesn't happen, but say the result isn't favourable on Sunday, but we play the way that we've been playing, and we keep doing that way, and you can see that it's still going to keep going. We've just got to adapt to get the players in, a few more transfer windows. Then I wouldn't be walking away as despondent as I would be losing under Conte and Mourinho, playing boring football and not getting the results. So, yeah, I do think we are, when we walk into this North London derby at the Emirates, which I don't think we've won there for 13, 14 years, I don't know exactly, but a long time. I think it's the Kabul header, wasn't it? I think it was the last time. Then I wouldn't be like too panicky as long as we're showing signs. And as amazing as Sheffield United was, it was an incredible moment. I still believe the fans would have walked away. They're going, well, look, this is like down to time wasting and refereeing decisions. The goalkeeper knew what he was doing. They had a plan. We were still playing that good football. Yes, we were very wasteful, but that we are game 6 now into this project. And I think Sonny touched on it, that Arsenal are in their 5th year. So we shouldn't be too despondent upon a result if the result isn't completely favourable. I think maybe if we saw gaps of us not playing the same way as we can against these teams, that might be more damaging. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to play the same football. And from that point of view, I'm excited for it.
One thing, I guess, to touch on about what Levy said in the forum was the Harry Kane thing, because he said that there is a buyback option in Kane. Basically, he kind of only said a few couple words. He was asked, "Is there a buyback?" He said, "Ha ha ha, of course." Kind of, you know, maybe it was a joke. I don't know, but everyone's taking it very seriously. I'm assuming it's obviously there is a buyback. There are reports coming out today saying that the relationship between Kane and Levy is strained, and maybe he wouldn't even consider a return to Spurs while Levy's at the helm. But there's also maybe a thought that, you know, all the good youngsters we've got coming through, Scarlett, there's Donnelly, Valise is now a signing. We've got Sinsot Bell. Yeah, we've just got a lot of young strikers coming in. Like, even if in 2-3 years' time, if the option is there to bring Harry Kane back and some of these strikers are coming through, is it a case of maybe we should not even take it up and just move on from Harry Kane? Or is it always a case of, if you can bring Harry Kane back, we bring him back?
For me, it's if you can bring Harry Kane back, you bring him back. You're talking about one of the best strikers, if not the best striker in the world. And what a good kind of role model and kind of, you know, coach in a way, even while playing, he can be for the younger players coming through. So imagine Dane Scarlett in his first year for Spurs has Harry Kane there as his mentor, as, you know, in his starting role in the squad. I think it'd be unbelievable to have a club legend, top goal scorer of the team, and also someone who's come through the academy, who's been there, done it for the academy players. I think it's just, you know, money can't even buy that kind of stuff, but in this case, maybe it can.
What do you think, James? Is it
the same? I think if you, I don't think you'd have to go quite far and wide to find a Spurs fan to say, no, I don't want Harry Kane back. I think there'd be an argument for, instead of like walking into big games like Sunday, and we're all worried about we're one injury away from being terrible, or not terrible, but like a disaster. So obviously we've still got Sonny and all that. But I mean, but now the way the team's playing collectively, but you still add Kane into that mix, and it still would be part of the same thing. Like I think he could probably get 40 goals in a team under Postecoglou, and I think that's yeah. Also, I was thinking, who's the penalty taker? Is that Sonny or Madison?
I reckon Madison.
Great question. We haven't had a penalty, have we?
No, I reckon it will be Madison.
Right, because we were all saying Sonny, but I don't really know. I'd take Madison.
Mm.
Yeah, we only had 5 against Fulham, haven't we? And that's not any good.
What do you think, Sonny? Do you think Kane will come back?
I feel like it'll be a long-term thing, maybe a couple of years. It depends what he does at Bayern this year. You know, this year might not win anything. You know, it might take a couple of years to pick up that Champions League trophy, especially because you know what's going to happen. People are going to criticise him for.
What if he does, Sonny, though? What if he does? What if he wins the Champions League and the Bundesliga this season? What more does he have to do at Bayern Munich?
It's sort of done, isn't it? I mean, if he did a treble or something like that, that'd be like sort of the pinnacle. But I guess, I mean, I can't remember the length of contract he signed, but if I'm him as well, like you go and win it, if he was then to return and go to, say, a Man United or someone like that, because that's who people will tout if he does return. They'll say he'll go to Man United. But I still can't see him at Man United. I don't know why. I feel like there's something in the like visionary where I'm just like, I just can't see it. That's why he went to Bayern. I feel like he was shoehorned into a move to Bayern because Levy didn't want to deal with Premier League clubs, and we don't deal with Premier League clubs in the Big Six or whatever. So I'd love him back. I feel like maybe I'm getting Teddy Sheringham vibes. Like I'm just getting like that sort of return and a bit older, because this guy can also he'll be playing until he's 45 or something really ridiculous. Or so, you know, something ridiculous, and then he'll end up in Saudi.
Play until he's 60 years old.
Yeah, he was good in goal that time.
Exactly.
He's got the potential to play for years. He's like, you know, he's injured. He's brushed off all those injuries now. Like you can't talk about that anymore. Even tonight, there's fans tonight saying like to me, oh, I bet you want Man United to absolutely batter Bayern. I'm like, no, I would rather Kane hit 5 goals against United because I hate United. So yeah, I just can't hate him. You know, even these quotes we said about it last week. He's come out with some more quotes, hasn't he, about Tottenham? And it's just like, I can't really get annoyed at them too much because he's at a new club. He's got to impress. Bayern is like a juggernaut, and all their like executives and former players are on you like, you know, flies on doo-doo. So, you know, it's a pressure environment. And, you know, if he goes there, wins a few things, as you said, Ben, just come back next year.